Hello, everyone, and welcome to Something to Talk About Live. My name is Liz Owen. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Director of Communications at PFLAG National. It's great to have you with us again this week for a really, really special conversation. Our guest, I'm fan personing all over the place, so best for me to just remain calm and bring on our host, Jean Marie Nevada.
I can't even say Liz Owen like I normally do because I'm so excited.
I'm trying to center. I don't even know how you're going to manage to contain yourself for 30 minutes, but I know you're going to try your best.
It's going to fail, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Maybe out of control me is what we need for this.
I don't hate it.
Well, we'll see. I will talk to you later, Liz.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jean Marie Nevada. I'm the Director of Learning and Inclusion at PFLAG National. And every single week we get together to talk about something related to LGBTQ equality and inclusion. And this week we are talking about affirming and celebrating ourselves. So every single week we do share an article with you, which is available at straightforequality.org/STTA Live. This one is from the Los Angeles Times by Rebecca Brenner, and it's about how I nurtured my trans non-binary child's path and learned to grow with him. It's a really gorgeous article. But to really have today's conversation, I am just so excited about this. We have best-selling author Jeffrey Marsh with us. So if you don't know who Jeffrey is, they are an unbelievable writer, an unbelievable commentator, have done so much on social media with over 1 billion views on some of the things that they've created. Their first book, How to Be You, topped Oprah's gratitude meter. And their second book, Take Your Own Advice, hit shelves on May 16th. And I am really excited about this conversation. So I'd like to welcome Jeffrey Marsh.
Hello there. Hi.
Hello. Hi, Jeffrey. I'm so happy to have you here.
I need to clarify something. Is this out of control you? Is this?
We're getting there. No, it will spiral. It's totally.
Please spiral as quickly as possible because I'm ready. I'm excited.
Let's give Liz something to edit maybe someday.
Let's have fun. Let's enjoy.
I want to have fun. And I have so many questions for you. So, I was on your website as I was starting to prep for this, and it's kind of mind-blowing as I went through a whole bunch of your accomplishments, where you've been. Billions of people have watched the things that you've created and viewed your content. And as I was looking at it, the first thing that popped into my head was this part of a plan? Is this what you planned on doing as you started creating things online? Or is this kind of a surprise to you where things have gone?
Oh, it's an absolute shock. Complete shock. I only ever do 2 things. I try to help people hate themselves less and try to forward LGBTQ rights as much as I can. I'm doing those things all day long. And I just set out. I've always known that was my mission and purpose in life, which if you want to have a philosophical discussion about what does that mean? What's a purpose in life? We can talk about that. But, I've always known deeply that there was this promise that I could offer something, that I could help folks. And so, I got 10 years ago, I got on Vine to try to do that. And then started going viral. And do you know Vine was 6.5 second videos?
It was that short?
6.5. And believe me, we used the 0.5. We used every second. But that was a really wonderful place for me to start because it's just enough time to say, there is nothing wrong with you.
And often that's all that we need to hear because a lot of us did not hear that when we were growing up.
I would say most people you encounter didn't hear that, or at least didn't hear it often growing up.
True. And I think for those of us in the queer space, I think we were deprived of it actively in many cases. So you have this mission, these 2 things that you want to do. And to do it, one of the things that excited me the most is that you have put yourself in places that a lot of people wouldn't. So for people who don't know, you were on Newsmax. You were actually, I believe, the first non-binary individual who has gone on something like that to really talk about it. And I know I used to work in media. A lot of people will just flat out decline the invitation. What was the reasoning behind it? Like, what was your thought? I'm going to do this.
What the heck were you doing, Jeffrey? Yeah, I don't know if they invited me again today. I don't know what would happen. This was 2016. So it was a different time in our lives. Do you remember 2016?
So long ago.
Specifically earlier in 2016. I ended up being the very first non-binary person to be out and talk about us and talk about being non-binary on national TV, period. And it was that trial by fire environment. I think, the interview has gone viral a few times since then. People can Google around and find it. I hope that it was clear what I was doing there. Love, kindness, connection. And no matter what the host was doing, that's what I was there for. And I was crystal clear on that. It came about because of a challenge. We got the offer, and someone I worked with at the time said, if your mission is to help people hate themselves less, do you think you can do that on a place like Newsmax? And I said, well, I guess I'm about to find out.
And you did it with such grace. That was, I think, the thing that, as I watched, it was most striking to me, that I think it would have been very easy to retreat into a corner or to almost lash out in some cases. And you were absolutely graceful and absolutely gracious throughout. And I thought, what a challenge that must have been to people's stereotypes. And that's what made me happy.
Yes. And I got a ton of feedback, obviously. Some of it all caps and negative, right? But I got a lot of positive feedback from folks that said, I may not get this whole thing, but I just love you. And to me, that has become for me a badge of honor and something that I really enjoy. If you look through the demographics of my followers, especially on Instagram today, but also TikTok, a lot of conservatives follow me. So people who also identify as a conservative follow me as well. And that used to bother me, but I hope it has something to do with the mission, the voice, the integrity that I bring, and what I'm talking about that almost anybody can relate to.
Yes, I think that is it. And I think you are such a great example of what I always talk about all the time, which is, if we are out there, if you see us, if you get to know us beyond, as my mom jokes, the gays, like the way they kind of clump us all together under those two words, suddenly it's so much harder to swallow some of the things that you're being told. But you have to go to those spaces to do it, and you did it. And that I just thought it was beautiful and brave. And I mean that very sincerely. I don't use that word often because I think we label a lot of things brave, and that was.
It was a hostile environment. I can't really sugarcoat it. It was not like hearts and flowers.
No.
It was not like PFLAG, right?
Lots of hugs.
Yeah, it was going and walking over the hot coals, whatever the metaphor is you want to use. And there's something about LGBTQ existence and the shoulders of the giants that I stand on, and the activists throughout time who have gone into those spaces and held our own. Not necessarily, achieved any specific thing or, did it with aplomb, right? I leave other people, that's a judgment for other people to make. But the only thing I wanted to do was stay committed to love. And I'm glad I did that.
And you did. And so that actually kind of brings me into what I wanted to talk about next, which was, and I will admit this, I mentioned it in an email to you that when I first knew that I was going to be doing this interview, I got the copy of Take Your Own Advice. And as I started to look, I'm like, oh, self-help kind of stuff, do things for yourself, not my thing. I am not that person. And 30 minutes later, I was sitting at this very desk, tears pouring down my face because it hit me so hard. And I'm so grateful for you for this book. But one of the things that you mentioned early on.
Wait. We got to pause. We need to. I'm running this interview now. Can you say a little bit more about that? It hit you?
I think sometimes I look at things that are, talking about how we need to take care of ourselves and how you should do it. And I think, yes, but there are people out there suffering, and I can do that later. And I can't do that now. It is a luxury.
Mm.
And it doesn't feel like something I should have the right to. And I'm not doing some sort of martyr thing. I'm really not. I think some of us are built to just keep sort of pushing through. And it was when I picked up and I started to read, I read it and I thought it was like you were speaking directly to me. It challenged every single thing that I just said. And I had never read anything like that. And that is why I was just so grateful. And the thing that really got me, the thing that hit me hard now that you're running the interview, is that you said focusing on yourself can be frightening. I'm turning the interview back over so I'm in control for a second. Why do you think this is we're going to fight through the entire interview for control of it?
You win.
Thank you. I'm very bossy. It has to happen. Why do you think it is so frightening for the do-gooders, the so-called do-gooders out there, to focus on ourselves?
There are a couple of reasons. Most of all, well, first I want to start by saying you have a beautiful heart. Thank you. I appreciate it. I would imagine most people can look at me and see what I was told my whole life is wrong with me. Pretty clear what I was, bullied for as a kid. It's right here. And transcending that in my adult life meant, it sounds kind of Oprah, it sounds 90s, in a way that you were hinting at, that's like surfacey or, doesn't land for people. It's like, put yourself first. But what we don't understand is that many of us were programmed to see our value in serving others. So not serving others for the joy, not showing up because you love it, not volunteering because it was great, not having a conversation with your parents because you love them and it's a mutual loving relationship. A lot of us were just programmed into, you need to give, or you'll be abandoned. You'll be left. They won't like you anymore, etc. Is any of that resonating with you?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we're keeping this on you. Yes, it is. It totally is. And I think but when you said it wasn't that sort of 90s version of this conversation. You turned it upside down, and suddenly I looked at it and I saw it completely differently. And it didn't feel selfish anymore to me.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'm going to use your programming against you. Are you okay with that?
Oh boy, yes.
The best way you can serve others is for you to have a full heart. Do you know this? Like, if you stop taking care of yourself, then you're bitter. And you're like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. I'm out of here. It just makes sense that not only should you be part of the picture, but you really do have to assure that you feel good.
And I
in
think
order to be of service.
Yeah. And what you're talking about, the other risk here is that if you don't take this time for yourself, PFLAG has our slogan of leading with love. You find that you're not leading with love. You're incapable of leading with love. You're leading with sort of this bitterness and responsibility, and it's a burden, and it's no longer because of love. And the way you framed it, it was like somebody put the right glasses on me and I saw clearly all of a sudden and started questioning everything. I want to ask, because there was another thing that came up.
I want to say something else though. Wait.
Yes. Okay. We're waiting.
I want to say something else, because the reason it's called Take Your Own Advice is because this is also about wisdom. A lot of us are programmed to give and 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 give without recognizing that we really do know. We really are wise. So part of the reason I wrote the book was I would coach with people, do workshops, and again, people would say, oh, I know what to do. I just can't do it.
I've said that so many times.
Right? I know I should leave that relationship. I know I should ask my boss about this. I know I should tell my partner about my feelings. I know what I should do. I just can't do it. And so, how do we begin to value ourselves enough to take our own advice, to take in our own wisdom, to listen to our inner voice and start to trust it? Sorry to commandeer. Now you can say.
Okay, all right. I can have it back just for a second. So, as I try to pull myself together. So, there are so many things.
Why pull yourself together? Why? Just let it go.
Oh my gosh.
Why?
I just want to just continue going because by the end, it's going to be like hair really down. So, we talk about self-care all the time. The other thing that I hear all the time, because I work a lot in, diversity, equity, inclusion, is the concept of belonging. And so the other thing that jolted me right in the beginning was your advice on trying to stop belonging. That should not be your mission. And you do explain that for people who haven't gotten to the book yet, could you tell them a little bit of a snapshot about what you're talking about? Because again, I think you just turned a concept on its head in the best possible way and gave it meaning again.
Yeah, it's my spiritual teacher. I lived at a monastery and worked with a monastery for a while. Not a while, 20 years plus. Still Zen today. My teacher at the monastery used to say, how you do anything is how you do everything. So this is a matter of orientation. If your orientation to the world is trying to belong, that is admitting to yourself that you don't. And so my advice, and what I try to walk people through in the book, is instead work with folks to create the spaces you've always wanted to belong to. That's the work. You switch over from trying to get that from other people to being the progenitor, the one who is creating, the one who is, again, being of service because you are full.
And when you say that, I think about, for so many of us, the concept of chosen family is exactly what that is about. That so many people have tried to fit into the family of origin, and instead we have created our own families, and we are nothing less than blessed to have those. But it is that is the act, that is the model, that is exact. And I was so excited reading about that because I feel like belonging, like so many terms, has just become ubiquitous. We throw it out: diversity, inclusion, belonging, and it's not there anymore.
Think through what they actually might mean by that, or what they would want from something like that. Yeah, I consider it a blessing to be LGBTQ. I don't know about you. And it's a blessing in a number of ways, one of which is I've been an outsider my whole life, ever since I was young. And, that used to be a point of pain, obviously, speaking of belonging. And what I've realized is the system we got going is fake. And I knew that when I was a kid.
Yep.
I didn't have to go through some big dramatic, discovering that as a middle-aged person, right? I feel it's just a blessing that I could see from the outside that what society expects of people and what the norm is of what people are supposed to do is just, to abbreviate it, BS. And I feel blessed that I was outside that system from a very early age. I don't know. Do you feel that way sometimes?
As you were speaking, I was just thinking you were the first person that I have ever met who has articulated that. I often tell people, I think the biggest gift that God gave me was to make me queer. Because to be queer means you have to orient your way of seeing the universe and the people around you and how people are treated and the systems that cause people to be treated in a different way. Because you come into the world as an outsider. And there is no place for you. And I am so grateful to God that I had that I didn't have to figure it out, that it was just the way I was born. And thank you for that. It feels so good to hear that. Oh my goodness. This is I'm having too much fun.
You're welcome. Can I also throw something very wise you said back in your face? You said earlier, you sort of hinted at it, but I want to go right there. Self-care is not equal either, which is also something I talk about in the book. So not everybody is on equal footing. Some people are dealing with queer phobia. Some people are dealing with misogyny, classism, racism, right? Some people are dealing with phobias, hatred, and circumstances, right? In society, not everyone is treated equally. And oh my God, I mean, we could have a whole nother discussion about capitalism and the way we have society set up and how that relates to being able to, or not being able to do self-care. So I think when people say self-care and talk about it, they tend to be, it feels that sort of surface level because there's not an acknowledgement of how difficult it can be in our lives.
Yes.
And we were taught it looks a certain way and not everybody can achieve that certain way. So where does it leave them? Right.
I know. I really agree. And I think that fact has been what has made so many people, maybe not so many people, but a lot of people really grapple with it and almost find it to be a meaningless concept. But that is why I think your book is just so important, because suddenly there was meaning in it again for me. And I find myself, it's been a week since I read, already starting to approach things differently. I might even wear a different lipstick color soon. Like, that's how much of a life change I've had.
Whoa. I encourage that. And you were one of the first people on earth to ever see it, you realized. I mean, it's out now. People can,
yes,
everybody can read it, but you were one of the first people on earth to ever.
I am so honored to know that. And I just want to say, for anyone who is watching, you need to read this book. I can't say enough about it. It's no joke. 30 minutes sitting at my computer, at my desk, crying because it was so meaningful. You know, there's one more concept that I want to make sure that we get in here, which is this term authenticity, which you definitely delve into, and you talk about it. You know, a different way to sort of look at it as at the characteristic. And my computer just reset itself, and we're going to hope this. We're good.
I can still hear you. We are connected. We are magic. We've got
I was like, oh, this isn't happening. So when we talk about authenticity, I think it is very hard to talk about right now at a time where our lives are being really legislatively marginalized, legislatively erased. Why do you think it is so important for queer youth, and especially non-binary youth, to find some of those heroes, those role models? Is it about possibility? Is it about something else? Why is this so critical?
Young people used to like, it's funny because I'll go speak at a college and they inspire me. I'm supposed to be the one going to inspire them, but it's really inspiring to be around people who get it and understand authenticity. So the first thing I want to say is we are, oh goodness, we're in a moment where authenticity is called for.
Yes.
From us. And I never want anyone to feel bad. So this stereotype that every LGBTQ life is leading toward a pride parade and you're going to come out to everybody and you're you're going to be out there. That's not for everybody, and not everybody can, and not everybody wants to do that. So just acknowledging that first, it's okay, right? And we are in a historic moment where the more voices, the better. I just follow all the trans people on social media, all the LGBTQs. The more voices, the better.
Yeah. And I think as we see more people getting erased, you know, we're not even allowed to have this conversation, those voices become even more critical. And I think you have a really excellent point there. I think there is this concept of you're queer, you must be out, you're going to be at the parade in June, and that's what your life's going to look like. But I think people miss that for some people, just being able to come out to themselves is the greatest accomplishment they will have. And we don't celebrate that enough. And I don't think that we validate that enough with young people. And it's sort of a shame that we've sort of set it up as here's the way you're supposed to look, because as one of those queer people who really didn't fit into any of the boxes very nicely, and who often was told you actually don't belong here because of how you look, how you act, whatever it was. I wish there had been more of that. And it worries me that we don't create enough of that space, as there's sort of this very public queer image.
Yeah. And I think the forces that want us to be quiet also want us to feel lonely and isolated from each other. So that's important to
Yes.
keep in mind too.
So I am watching my time because I know we only have half an hour, even though I think this should have been a 3-hour show.
It went by like that.
Too fast. It's entirely too fast.
You didn't even get to
So-
cry yet. Oh,
No, I'm holding it together. I'm really holding it together. I told you there will be no
why are you
running
holding
mascara.
it together? Let it go. There's no need
No
to
running
hold it.
mascara on this show. None. So the world is pretty brutal right now. I was just talking to people the other day, and I said, in my nearly 50 years on this planet, I have never seen ugliness in the way we are seeing ugliness right now. And that is a really big statement. I lived through the 90s. I saw a lot. And now I'm going to start crying. But here we go. So, as you know, we're heading into Pride Month. The concept of celebration feels a little weird given what we're up against. And it almost feels, and I keep thinking about the word revolutionary. So for people who are feeling these things, and I'm certain I'm not the only person who is feeling this way at this particular moment, what do you suggest that they do right now to start shifting where they are?
Fully accept where they are. Stop wanting to shift, whatever it is. That would be the first thing I would say, because all of your feelings are valid. I mean, that's another one of those, phrases that loses some meaning over time, but all of your reactions and feelings are valid. And heck yeah, this is a fearful, scary, difficult time. And it's the community that keeps me going. The mission I laid out for you, help people hate themselves less and forward LGBTQ rights as much as I can. That was true 10 years ago. It's true last year. It's true today. That's been my barometer, and it doesn't change regardless of what the climate is like.
Then I'll ask one more question.
Yeah.
Where does your self-confidence come from?
I'm not confident.
Oh my goodness, don't say that. You're amazing.
What you are witnessing, what you are viewing, is somebody who loves themselves unconditionally. That's it.
And that's absolutely revolutionary.
It is the thing. Well, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but a lot of people fear that as well.
Yes.
And that I think about that a lot as we go into Pride Month and get ready to celebrate together. And celebrating may feel weird, but we get ready to connect with each other.
And that, I think, is probably one of the most important things. But I always keep telling people, remember that even those of us who can show up at a Pride event, it is an enormous privilege. Enormous.
Truly.
And I think we sometimes forget that parade even exists, that festival even exists. It is an enormous privilege. And I keep telling people, I hope that people remain online. I know none of us enjoyed being on Zoom for almost 3 years. But that connection, that digital connection, gave people who couldn't ever join us in person a place to be with us. And I hope that continues to last.
Very, very important. Yes.
Jeffrey, thank you so much. I made it through without any tears. Almost. I am so grateful for you. I am so grateful to have had your book in my hands, had the opportunity to read it, be one of the first people to read it cover to cover and without stopping. Thank you so much for who you are. There isn't enough gratitude in the world for what you are doing and for your 2-part mission that is amazing in its unbelievable simplicity and yet profound complexity. Thank you.
Do you know about projection? I know you're trying to wrap it up.
No, we can still talk a little longer.
This is a Buddhist thing. Western, therapy models and stuff like that picked it up as well. But you can't see the light in me unless it's a reference point inside yourself.
Now I'm going to start crying.
I knew I could do it. Right in the last 30 seconds.
You win.
This has been my absolute pleasure. And you know that PFLAG is close to my heart, always has been, and that you are close to my heart.
Thank you.
whatever it is you see in me, it is a reflection of you too.
Thank you so much. Please take care of yourself and please come back and visit us again.
I shall. Let's do this again.
Let's do this again. We will see you soon. Wow. So that's another episode of Something to Talk About Live. We will be back next week with another episode after I fix my makeup. We remind you to do 3 things at the end of every single show, which is to run fast, laugh hard, and most of all, be kind. If you need help, visit us at pflag.org. I'll see you again next week without the tears we think on Something to Talk About Live. Have a good week, everybody.